In the long, turbulent history of the Roman Empire, no military unit cast a longer shadow over the fate of emperors than the Praetorian Guard. For over 4 centuries, these elite soldiers served as the personal bodyguard of Rome's most powerful men, and, when it suited them, as their executioners. They were the best paid, best equipped soldiers in the Roman world, stationed at the very heart of imperial power. Their story is one of loyalty and betrayal, of discipline and corruption, and of the dangerous entanglement between military force and political authority that would come to define the later empire. The roots of the Praetorian Guard reach back into the Roman Republic. Roman generals had long maintained a cohort of hand-picked soldiers, a cohors praetoria, to protect their command tent, known as the Praetorium. These were trusted men, selected for skill and loyalty, who served as a general's personal escort in the field. Figures like Scipio Africanus and Julius Caesar are known to have kept such units close at hand during their campaigns. It was Augustus, Rome's first emperor, who transformed this informal tradition into a permanent institution. After his victory at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC and the final collapse of the Republic, Augustus faced a delicate problem. He needed a reliable military force in Rome to protect his person and secure his regime, but he also needed to avoid the appearance of a military dictatorship. His solution was the Praetorian Guard, initially 9 cohorts of roughly 500 men each, though the numbers would fluctuate over the centuries. Only 3 cohorts were stationed in Rome at any given time during Augustus's reign. The rest were dispersed in nearby Italian towns, a deliberate effort to avoid alarming the Senate and the public with too visible a display of armed power. Augustus appointed 2 Praetorian prefects to command the guard, establishing a dual leadership structure that was meant to prevent any single commander from accumulating too much influence. This precaution, as history would prove, was not always sufficient. From the outset, the Praetorians occupied a privileged position in the Roman military hierarchy. They served shorter enlistments than ordinary legionaries, typically 16 years compared to the standard 20 or 25, and they were paid substantially more. By some estimates, a Praetorian guardsman earned 3 times the salary of a regular soldier, and they received generous bonuses, known as donativa, upon the accession of a new emperor. These cash gifts became a critical, and eventually destabilizing, feature of Roman imperial politics. The Guard was recruited primarily from Italy and the most Romanized provinces, ensuring a force that was culturally close to the emperor and the capital. They were equipped with the finest arms and armor available, and their training reflected their elite status. When not on campaign, they served as a visible symbol of imperial authority, accompanying the emperor at public events, guarding the imperial palace on the Palatine Hill, and maintaining order in the city. Under the Emperor Tiberius, the Praetorian prefect Sejanus consolidated the Guard's power dramatically. He persuaded Tiberius to concentrate all 9 cohorts in a single fortified barracks on the outskirts of Rome, the Castra Praetoria, completed around 23 AD. This seemingly administrative decision had enormous political consequences. For the first time, Rome's most formidable military force was gathered in one place, under unified command, and within striking distance of the Senate and the imperial palace. The Praetorians were no longer merely bodyguards. They were a political force capable of shaping the destiny of the empire. The Guard's political influence became impossible to ignore after the assassination of Caligula in 41 AD. When conspirators struck down the young emperor, it was the Praetorians who found his uncle Claudius hiding behind a curtain in the palace and declared him emperor. The Senate, confronted with the reality of armed soldiers backing Claudius's claim, had little choice but to ratify the decision. Claudius, in turn, rewarded the guard with a lavish cash bonus, setting a dangerous precedent. The throne could be bought with the promise of gold. This pattern repeated itself with alarming frequency over the following centuries. The Praetorians played a direct role in the downfall of Nero, whose suicide in 68 AD they hastened by withdrawing their support. The chaotic year of the 4 emperors that followed, 69 AD, saw the Guard shift its allegiance multiple times as rival claimants fought for power. Each new emperor understood that securing the loyalty of the Praetorians was not optional. It was a prerequisite for survival. Perhaps the most infamous episode in the Guard's history occurred in 193 AD, during the crisis following the murder of the Emperor Pertinax. The Praetorians, having killed Pertinax themselves after a reign of only 3 months, effectively auctioned off the empire to the highest bidder. The wealthy senator Didius Julianus won the bidding war, promising each guardsman an enormous sum. His reign lasted just 66 days before he was overthrown and executed. The episode remains one of the most striking illustrations of the Guard's power, and of the corrosive effect of that power on Roman governance. The office of Praetorian Prefect evolved over time into one of the most powerful positions in the empire. What began as a military command gradually expanded to encompass judicial, administrative, and even legislative functions. Prefects like Sejanus under Tiberius and Macro under Caligula wielded influence that rivaled or exceeded that of the emperors they served. Some prefects governed wisely and effectively. Others were notorious schemers whose ambitions destabilized the state. By the 3rd century, the Praetorian prefect had become something like a prime minister, overseeing legal appeals, managing finances, and coordinating provincial administration. The position attracted men of enormous ability and ambition, and the line between serving the emperor and controlling him grew increasingly thin. The Praetorian Guard met its end at the hands of the Emperor Constantine I. During the civil war of 312 AD, the Guard backed Constantine's rival Maxentius. At the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, Constantine's forces defeated Maxentius decisively, and the defeated emperor drowned in the Tiber during the rout. Constantine, well aware of the Guard's long history of political interference, disbanded the unit entirely. He demolished the Castra Praetoria and dispersed the surviving soldiers to distant frontier garrisons, ensuring they could never again threaten an emperor's rule. In place of the Praetorians, Constantine established new guard units, the Scholae Palatinae, whose structure and loyalties were organized to prevent a recurrence of the political king-making that had defined the old guard.